Mr. Hice, the gentleman from Georgia, for his questioning.
Thank you, Chairwoman Porter. I appreciate that very much. And before asking my questions, I would like to share the experience of Rob Jones, who is a Marine Corps veteran. He's a double amputee from combat injuries that he sustained in Afghanistan. So if we could please roll his video testimony.
Hi, my name is Rob Jones, and I'd like to thank you for this opportunity to speak with you about people with disabilities having access to public lands. I'm a retired U.S. Marine, and what you can't see from this video is that I'm a double above the amputee as a result of an IED blast. And before my injury, I used to love going out into the woods and hiking. I still do. And I'd like to illustrate my points by telling you a story about going to Hawaii with my family. We wanted to see all sorts of sights, scenic views, and so we went to this one volcanic island park, and there was supposed to be a lot of good hiking trails that we wanted to go on. And the first one we went on was nice and wide, and it was mostly wooden plank, so it was great for me. It was fun. It was easy. We saw a bunch of sulfur springs and all sorts of things like that. But when we got to the second trail they wanted to go on, which is the one I was actually more excited about because it took you by all sorts of there was a chance you could see lava from the trail. And when we got there, it had been eroded so much from people walking on it and from rainfall that there was just this gully in the middle of the trail. And me with my short legs that I figured would probably be good with the limited information that was available, I figured I could do it, but it was so difficult. I just couldn't stand anywhere. And so it took me like 2.5 hours to hike maybe 1.5 miles of this trail. And by the end of it, I was so irritated and embarrassed and irate with how it went that I just wanted to go home. It just kind of ruined the entire experience for me. And it also made me feel terrible because my entire family was like waiting for me the entire time. And yeah, it just kind of ruined the day for me, to be honest with you. And so this kind of illustrates to you, I hope, in the limited time available, that with a little bit of more information, I have access to all sorts of prosthetic legs and devices and things like that. But so maybe with a little bit more information about the trail, I might have been able to have a better prosthetic solution. And also keep in mind that there's a lot of people that don't have the access to the equipment that I have. So the ability to build better infrastructure for people with disabilities to access these places would be a great boon in actually providing access to public lands for people with disabilities. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you showing that video. Mr. Hill, let me go to you, both from Rob's testimony that we just heard and Drew's testimony a little bit earlier. It's clear that the Department of Interior needs to improve how it shares information pertaining to levels of accessibility. And we've already been talking about recreation.gov, I think a great website, obviously intended to provide information about visiting some of our outdoor areas. But can you explain perhaps some information that probably should be included on the website to help provide individuals with disabilities more thorough understanding of the levels of accessibility?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I will. Let me also point out that one of the reasons that the Park Service and Fish and Wildlife Service have better information for their visitors is because the information exists, meaning they have policies and their unit managers and facility managers know what those policies are, and they've had some training in them. When you compare that to the Forest Service and BLM, in some cases, the lack of information is because there is no information on that topic. They haven't established a consistent policy across their facilities, and the training for their unit managers isn't there either, which produces feedback, which would then be used to populate the website to provide the information that Mike and others are talking about. I think one of the things that would be very helpful on recreation.com or generally by the agencies is to provide an activities-based approach to accessibility. And in my testimony, I used the phrase practical access. Mike is exactly right. Nobody with a disability is going to charge off into a place where they don't know exactly what they're going to expect. If you're a paraplegic or you're vision impaired, that's just dangerous. You just don't do it. What you end up doing is not going. And that's the problem we're trying to address here. The activities that we want to undertake while we are there have practical accessibility features associated with them. Mike has referred to that repeatedly about the nature of the trails. Okay, we know there's a trail there, but is it accessible or not? Traveling the trail is an activity. Same thing for fishing if it's allowed, recreational shooting if it's allowed, hunting if it's allowed. And what we don't see right now is accessibility information oriented around the practical activities for which we want to visit the park to begin with.
I think
So
that's
that
a
would
great
be a big
suggestion.
help.
Great suggestion. Let me just end with this. I'm assuming you would also agree that there's real benefit for having all of that on one page, one space on the internet, rather than every agency trying to do their own thing. That would be helpful as well. Is that correct?
No, yes, sir. No question. The individual land agency, because they have, as you know, different authorities, different charges under the law, they need to come up with what this means for them, and it needs to be aggregated and put on recreation.com. We need a button up there right next to the three that you see where it says book a trip, plan an adventure. There needs to be a button that says accessibility. And then you press that, and then we have what we need. As Mike pointed out, you've got 8, 9, 10 clicks as a disabled person to get down to the granularity that matters. And then often all you've got is a little blue wheelchair, and that's it. It's just not practical.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairwoman. Appreciate it.